Hey, everybody, welcome to part 2 of episode 9, brought to you by your internet service provider. Oh, you wanted to use your internet when you're home and not working? Well, guess what? Everybody else does too.
So apparently they just dropped a nuclear bomb on our podcast, so we had to fix some things.
Wait, what if this is like censorship?
It's censorship. The ISPs know that we are live broadcasting. We're about to talk about net neutrality, and they're like, no, can't let these guys get the word out.
We are the stewards of the truth.
Stewards of the truth, not the left-wing liberal crazy conspiracy theory corner.
What if instead it was the world telling us that it was time to move on?
It might be.
Right.
Before we move into net neutrality, I do want to get into our weird news because I think we had a couple of good ones.
Okay.
One of the ones that I saw this week, which was really weird, is some neuroscientists have started developing tiny versions of human brains, which they are implanting and growing off of rodents. I don't really understand the purpose of this, but other than the fact that they can do it. And on some of these rodents, apparently the tiny miniature human brains began communicating with the rodent brains.
The two brains were communicating with each other.
Yes. And so that is what sparked some ethical concerns in the science community as to whether or not, number one, are these tiny human brains conscious? Two, if you could put some type of human brain in another animal and its brain could communicate with it, what does that do to, ethical treatment of animals and things like that? And also, are we essentially creating the next dominant race on the planet of super rats that have super intelligence?
Oh, man.
So this is something to watch.
This reminds me of the Rick and Morty episode with like the dogs in the robot suits.
Yeah.
Like the rats are going to come back and bite us in the ass.
Snowball was my slave name.
Yes, exactly. Like, have you read Flowers for Algernon?
I know that it's really famous, and I know that I've heard references to it, but I've never read it.
It involves lab rats and like giving them drugs.
Wasn't that also like the whole premise of The Secret of Nim, like weird Disney movie or whatever with the rats?
You know what? I did not see that.
No, somebody did.
I was more of a Stuart Little kind of guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I could see that growing up in white suburbia.
Hey, you grew up in the same white suburbia. Don't give me that.
Yeah, but I didn't like Stuart Little.
You grew up in the next one over.
That's true.
Give me a break.
I'm just messing with you. But anyways, I mean, this kind of harkened back to what we talked about last week with the AI. Is we've been dealing with genetic alteration, genetic testing, DNA coding, and mapping for years now. And outside of just no stem cell research, we don't really have any guidelines for what is, ethical, permissible moving forward. I mean, at what point do we allow companies to sell gene splicing to people with animals? And now instead of having to surgically turn yourself into a walrus, you can splice your DNA with a walrus and become Walrus Man. I am walrus.
What if John Bolton has already done this?
John Bolton.
Hence his mustache.
The mustache. I don't know why I thought Michael Bolton at first, and I was like, he doesn't look like a walrus.
Different Bolton.
Different Bolton. Well, it's possible. I know that in sci-fi movies and stuff that gene splicing is always something that comes up, and like, how far are we away from that?
Well, let me pose something to you. So I'm sure this is an oversimplification of the process, but it kind of sounds like they're just sort of grafting on a human brain into the neurological system of the rat.
Yeah.
In the same way that you would graft a plant. So like, what if plants could talk and the ones that were grafted are like screaming, "No, how could you do this to me?"
I don't know. I mean, I'm reading a little bit more about it. Apparently they were able to do this with like pigs and some other animals too. So it's not just rats. But
Jeez.
I mean, here's the thing. Number one, why are we inventing mini brains? Why is this even something we're making? And why are we grafting them onto animals? Like, I understand research for research's sake, but what is the purpose here? Like, in my mind, it feels like we're adding like a really advanced transistor or like a computer to like animals and seeing what happens whenever we give them more brain power. Like an upgrade.
Like what's the point of this?
What's the point of this?
Like, how would you put a rat brain on me and see how that goes?
Can Jay find the cheese every time?
Probably, especially if it's Gouda. Especially Manchego.
Ugh. Well, Manchego. So I just think that we're getting into some really unknown territories when it comes to science, technology, biology, and clearly humans a lot of times are like, is it cool? Let's do it.
Yeah, we're shoot first, ask questions later.
Very much so. And
very much classic Han Solo as a race.
Yep, yeah. Han Solo embodies the concept of humanity very well.
Exactly. As he should.
As he should. Are you... Sidebar again. Are you excited about the new Solo movie? Or are you terrified?
No, I hear it's going to be horrible.
See, everyone keeps saying that, and I'm at this point. I'm like, wait, did someone just say this looks like it's going to be terrible? And everyone has just been like telephoning that rumor down the line, and now it's just like the worst thing that's ever been produced.
Like they've had to change directors like 3 times, and like that's never a good sign.
No, you're not wrong.
But did you ever see Hail Caesar?
I didn't.
Oh, you should. I think you'd like it. I mean, you like everything. But...
The Coen brothers do, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a typical kind of Coen brothers romp where at the end nobody learns anything and it was all for nothing. But that's what they do and they do it well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say that's a bad thing. Like I like that. But anyway, the guy who's going to play Han Solo was in it, and he was like hilarious. He's got this scene with Ralph Fiennes where Ralph Fiennes is this like very genteel director, and the new Han Solo is this like country bumpkin, and it's gold. You should see it. But anyway, I don't remember what we were talking about.
Whether or not Solo is going to be a bad movie, but if he has like elicited these emotions and they're positive, why are you thinking he's just going to bomb the role?
Oh no, like I guess what I'm saying is that's the only thing I've seen him in, and he was excellent. It looks like he's going to be an excellent actor.
See,
so maybe there's hope.
He couldn't act is what.
Oh, really?
That's why I said I think this is rumors that someone started 6 months ago, and we're just all still spreading the rumors.
Oh man, is this like a Goya thing all over again, where I'm thinking of somebody else?
I don't know. It could be, but I remember reading like 3 or 4 months ago, somebody was like, "Oh God, Solo's gonna be terrible because the guy can't act," and I was like, I don't recognize this guy, but I love Childish Gambino and he's in it, and
yeah, he's gonna be Lando.
He's Lando, and I'm like, why isn't this enough of a reason for me to be excited about it?
Like, can you just imagine Donald Glover saying Han the way that Billy D. Williams does? Mm-hmm. Oh man, I cannot wait.
So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be fun.
You know, now that you've reminded me that Donald Glover is going to be in it, I'm excited again.
Also, isn't Emily Clark in it?
Yeah, Amelia Clark,
whatever her name is. I'm just saying, this is a pretty decent cast.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, Woody Harrelson's in it. Yeah. It was the same guy from Hail Caesar, so I'm not crazy.
Okay.
Ooh, also, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who's a British actress who did a couple of really great but under the radar shows, Crashing and Fleabag. She's going to be in it, and she's hilarious.
I don't know any of those.
Ones I know, Crashing is on Netflix. It's excellent. We should definitely do it for Show Club.
Okay.
There's also Fleabag, which is on Amazon, and it's rough, but it's good.
Okay, it's worth checking out, and it's coming out in just a couple of weeks, right?
The Han Solo one.
Yeah,
May 15th.
May 15th. Oh wow, and then like Deadpool's like that same week too.
Whew. Man, there's a lot of movies coming out now.
I know we got Avengers, Deadpool, Solo. This is the beginning of some movie. Like the big blockbusters.
That's true.
So this is the time for all the fun theater times. If you don't have one of those movie passes, you might want to invest in those now.
That's a good point. You know, we mentioned Ready Player One last week.
Yeah.
And I went to see it when it came out, and beforehand, I was a little bit reticent about it because I was thinking, okay, if this is such a big movie, if this is such a blockbuster, why is it being released in early April and not midsummer?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the whole movie about? Them trying to find an Easter egg?
Yeah.
It was released Easter weekend.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Damn you, Disney!
Was that Spielberg?
Well, it's Spielberg and Disney.
Okay. You're saying that Spielberg had no say in when it was released?
No, I'm just fucking around.
Well, did you have any other weird news?
Speaking of fucking around, the man with the worst case of gonorrhea on record has been cured.
That was great wordplay.
Yeah, thank you. There was a British man who contracted what his doctors described as literally supergonorrhea. It was not responding to any of the traditional antibiotics or any of the non-traditional antibiotics. But you know what? I don't remember how they cured him, but they cured him. So good on you, Britain.
Good on you. And also, Guy, please tell me you learned something from this.
Yeah, I mean, his identity has been kept confidential, but allegedly the story goes that he's married or has a long-term partner in the UK, but contracted such an infection after liaison with a young woman in Southeast Asia.
Mm.
So I don't know if you can be much more of a stereotype than that. Just saying.
It's true. It's true. Well, how did he keep the partner after getting the supergonorrhea?
Well, I mean, Hillary still stayed with Bill.
Yeah, Bill didn't get supergonorrhea either.
That's true. I did once.
Also, does anyone believe that he got supergonorrhea from one like indiscretion in Southeast Asia? This sounds like he was on like an indiscretion cruise across Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. But you want to take a quick pick into adolescent Jay's life?
Sure. So, why is supergonorrhea leading us to adolescent Jay's life? I'm curious about this.
So, funny story time. I was one time at Christmas. My family had gone over to my girlfriend's family's house to have Christmas dessert, and my girlfriend's mother is entertaining us with a story while the father is sitting on the couch watching a baseball game. And the mother is talking about how when they were dating, the father gave her an STD.
Oh my God.
And the father is just shouting, "They don't need to know that, woman."
I mean, he's not wrong.
It was the most awkward Christmas dessert I've ever had.
Also, question, is this a thing? Is Christmas dessert like a thing that you do? Like separate and apart from Christmas dinner?
Well, I mean, kind of. Like we have the dinner and then we hang out for a little bit, let it digest, and then we hit the sweets bar.
Oh man, anytime food was eaten, sweets and coffee was like the next step.
See, I think that's also a kind of a family thing where I think some people's family likes to wait and some like to have it immediately. And this was a big debate within my own family where my mom always likes to make fun of my dad's father, who allegedly would like to just, get his pie and smack it down right on that same plate full of gravy and, turkey drippings and cranberry sauce.
Yeah,
just smack that pie right down on there.
I couldn't do that. I definitely have family members who probably have no issue with pie on a plate that also has like stuffing and gravy and other things. I definitely went for the fresh plate anytime I got my desserts.
I'm with you there. Separate plates, if at all possible, are a preference of mine. That's one of the reasons why I enjoy Japan as a country.
Because of all the tiny plates?
Yeah, they don't let anything touch. Everything has its own plates. However, every time I go there, I feel like I'm just a horrible slob because I make such a massive mess and I get embarrassed.
I mean, just go to a sushi restaurant. You can make a massive mess there. You don't even have to go across country.
Oh, I've eaten with you.
I'm just saying, soy sauce just tends to get everywhere when you're dipping sushi rolls in it.
Oh, most definitely. I don't know how often you have to eat with a tie on, but it's delicate.
Yeah, just avoid Asian food.
Yeah, anything that's heavy on the sauces. Oh man, pasta. You can't do pasta with a
Maybe
Thai.
pasta.
Maybe some like penne.
Uh,
But like spaghetti, fettuccine, angel hair, any of that. That's out.
Any of the danglers.
Oof. Well, I think we've taken a few sidebars, so you want to get back to some serious stuff?
Absolutely. All right. So today is an important day, April 23rd, 2018, because today net neutrality as we knew it officially is dead. During the 2017 election, or I guess the 2016 election, Trump didn't really say anything about net neutrality, but then after he was elected, he appoints this like Verizon jackoff named Ajit Pai. I think that's how you pronounce it.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a former Verizon lawyer. He's essentially telling the industry, the ISPs, the internet service providers, that the first thing he's going to do is roll back the net neutrality rules that Obama had put in. And sure enough, as soon as he gets in there, he delivers on his promise. And last year there was all this controversy and people yelling and screaming, saying we don't need to do this. And at the end of the day, the ISPs won, because this is not a democratic thing. This is an agency that's appointed by the president, and they just get to make the rules up and apply them, because that's how things go. So I wanted to talk about one thing, and that was this, is that during 2017, one of the arguments I kept hearing over and over again is that this was a necessary regulation that the Obama administration forced upon us. That this, we didn't need it before Obama, we don't need it after Obama. This is unnecessary, and it hurts, the industry. It hurts the internet, it hurts commerce and all this stuff. And this is something that every single person I've argued with this about, they say this is true. So I started kind of digging into the history of net neutrality, and there's some great articles out there right now about it, because today's the end. But first of all, I wanted to say, what is net neutrality? And net neutrality is the principle that internet services should be providers should enable access to all content and all application, regardless of the source, without favoring or blocking a particular product or website. Essentially, Verizon, you don't get to decide who gets the fastest access, what content gets the fastest access. You've got to put everybody on equal playing field across the board. And the reason why the net neutrality laws or regulations came up in the first place was because Verizon wanted to essentially create a fast lane. They wanted to create a lane to where you could pay a little extra money and you would have faster access to the internet than all the people all the plebes, if you will, who are paying the basic, package.
Well, hold on, when you say you could enter the fast lane, do you mean us as consumers, or yes, the like websites?
I think that. Well, okay. At this point, it was the websites. They wanted to charge like Netflix a premium in order to have the bandwidth necessary to have their business.
Right, because I was going to say, like, this isn't one provider offers you faster speeds than the other by a function of their infrastructure. This is the provider themselves throttling your access. Basically, if the internet is the water coming out of the hose, they're putting their thumb on it.
If the internet is a series of tubes, they are squeezing the tube and reducing the flow.
Right.
And essentially that's what they wanted to do with Netflix. And that was what triggered the issue in the first place, is that there were no rules to say you can't do this. Everyone just kind of did it this way from the beginning. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because of how the internet was first set up. This was really interesting to me, is in 1976, sorry, wrong year. During the 1960s, whenever the engineers were working on what ultimately became the internet, one of the things that they brought up whenever they were pitching it to the government and to the military was that it was following what they called an end-to-end principle. Essentially, the internet is a internetwork of networks. Okay, it's a bunch of different networks connecting a bunch of different end users together, and the whole point of an end-to-end network is that the people at the end, the users, decide what content is being transmitted. okay? Not the network, not the infrastructure. So the very beginning of the internet, the very principle that it was designed on was that no matter what content is being pushed, everything will be able to be sent back and forth, and the network itself will have no control or say. It will essentially operate neutrally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the very principle of the internet foundation is about net neutrality, about allowing the end users to decide what the content is and letting that drive it. So when people are saying, well, hey, we don't need regulation, we need to let the free market decide. Well, it's a different market here. It's the market of ideas, of content. That's what we need to let decide, not an invisible hand that's shifting the content, because they have an incentive to shift it towards them. You know?
We've already seen how our political process has been co-opted by money.
Absolutely.
What's going to happen to our telecommunications infrastructure?
Exactly. Well, what happens whenever, AT&T says, well, we can just make a deal with Hulu, and now we can offer faster services to Hulu for our clients and slow down access to Netflix. So now they, get a benefit from using Hulu instead of the competitor. I mean, it allows them to affect competition in ways that they shouldn't be allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other thing I thought was interesting is that during the same time, the Nixon FCC had a very similar issue dealing with telephones. Okay. So, let's see, here it is. Yeah, in the 1960s, the Nixon administration, FCC, sought to increase the prospects for competitors in the telephone market. At this point in our history, AT&T was the nation's communication company and had been for many decades. This is the Ma Bell type. I don't know if you ever hear people talk about that, but
yeah,
but it was referred to Ma Bell, the mother of telephone companies.
Because there was just one at one point.
There was just one.
Like, do you know what AT&T stock symbol is?
It's a bell, right?
No. I mean, they're like their ticker.
Oh, no, I don't.
It's just T. That's it. Just T for telephone.
Telephones.
The telephone company.
Wow. So they believed in what they called the one system ideology. Namely, if it attached to, worked off of, or connected to their network, they should get to control it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, FCC became very interested in a group of new businesses that started to spring up that ran on top of AT&T's network. These were the first, I guess you could say, ancestors of things like Netflix, Wikipedia, Google. They essentially weren't the telephone, but were offering maybe like data computing that could be accessed through the telephone, pre-internet days. Okay. And so you would like send off like calculations to the company and they'd send it back to you. And so they said that the FCC recognized that there's potential for these services that aren't necessarily telephone services, but use the same infrastructure. So in 1971, the commission declared data processing industry as a major force in the American economy. And they predicted that in the future, its importance to our economy will increase in both absolute and relative terms in the years ahead. So this was obviously a new industry that they wanted to support, and it was vulnerable to someone like AT&T that could easily destroy this fledgling enterprise through their monopoly power. So, the commission stated in 1976, we were concerned about the possibility that the Bell companies might favor their own data processing activities by discriminatory services, cross-subsidization, improper pricing of common carrier services, and related anti-competitive practices and activities. Isn't that exactly what we're concerned with Verizon, AT&T, and all the ISPs today with the internet?
Yeah, you could just change the names.
Just change the name. It's the same principle. So the Nixon, I never thought I would ever give Nixon any kudos whatsoever.
Isn't it amazing?
Yeah, isn't it amazing? But Nixon's FCC was the one that came up with this.
Mm-hmm. And I think, yeah, you're absolutely right about Nixon there. Like, under which president was the EPA founded?
Was Nixon? It Nixon?
Yeah, it was Nixon.
The Clean Air and Water Act.
All that Nixon. It's amazing how the political spectrum fluctuates.
It absolutely does.
Where issues that were so important to one side just completely shift around. That's amazing.
Well, essentially, the FCC has had rules to protect these kind of services since 1970. Mm-hmm. Okay? And the courts, I think in 1976, they upheld these type of rules as constitutional and within their authority, blah, blah, blah. But a U.S. district judge later stated that the ability for abuse exists, as does the incentive of that there can also be no doubt. As stated above, information services are fragile, and because of their fragility, time sensitivity, and their negative reaction to even small degradations in the transmission quality and speed, they are most easily subject to the destruction by those who control their transmission. If your blog has some article up and it's the first one to get it up, but no one can access it because you're not a part of the data suite that Verizon is selling, then you lose. It doesn't matter if you're first. It doesn't matter if yours is the best, because you're not playing their game. This exact concern that they had with AT&T and its monopoly power back then with the telephones is the same concern we have today with the internet. You know, the people who run the infrastructure should not get to say what we get to access, how fast we get to access it at all. I just don't think that they do.
Well, I should have brought this, but I think there are multiple European countries, and it might be the EU itself, which classifies internet access as a basic human right.
Yeah, no, the International Human Bill of Rights, or whatever it is, has internet now on it as a basic human right because it's access to information.
Right. So that's something that a younger me would balk at and say, how ridiculous. Human right, internet, ridiculous. But now the way that it has infiltrated every aspect of our lives to the point that I would not be able to do the things I do every day without it. Mm-hmm. That kind of sounds like it's in the realm of basic human right.
Absolutely. And also, at what point is the internet service providers not, or are the internet service providers not common carriers? How are they not like the telephone?
How are they not a utility?
How are they not a utility? How are they not like electricities? How are they not like this stuff? Why are they not able to regulate them at that level? I mean, they should have been for a long time now. We shouldn't just be now. We should not just now be talking about this.
I wonder if this is a victim of soundbite politics, where it's basically, you know, I don't like regulation. Any regulation is bad. This is a regulation. Get rid of it.
I think it is. I honestly think that that's why the Trumpsters, the Trumpians, whatever you want to call them, have no problem with what they're doing, even though they're the ones that at the end of the day are going to get screwed, you know, along with the rest of us.
Like, you know, it's a great regulation. Like, we're not allowed to kill or steal from one another.
Yeah, that's a regulation, guys.
That's a regulation, guys, and it's a good one.
So this gets back to this absolutism, you know, and unwillingness to compromise on anything. We have to see everything as an extreme. Oh, regulation, it's bad. It strangles the economy. Well, what if it's a regulation that actually preserves our economy? Mm-hmm. Well, that can't be. And honestly, a lot of people, when you talk to them, they're like, well, how will this affect me tomorrow? What am I going to see change today? What with the death of net neutrality today? Is tomorrow going to be the day that they pop up and I have to pay for the fast lane? No, they're not stupid. It's going to be slow. It's going to be slow. It's like that old like metaphor, you know, if you throw a frog in a vat of boiling water, he'll jump out, but if you turn it on slowly and turn it up, he won't know what hit him. That's why we have to be vigilant.
It's exactly the same thing that the entertainment providers are doing to us right now.
Absolutely.
We're in that phase where we're like, hey man, I can get rid of my cable TV that I've been paying $60 a month for because Netflix is only $8. Oh man, but you need Hulu and you need HBO and you need Showtime. And if you want to watch Star Trek, you got to get that CBS one.
Then you have to have an Amazon Prime account.
And you got to have an Amazon Prime because how else are you going to watch Top Gear?
Mm-hmm.
And then you look down and your bill is more than what you're paying for cable before.
Exactly. And eventually we will have someone who will come out and that you'll buy like the internet bundle and it's essentially you're paying for cable again. It's just in different terms.
Yeah. But that's exactly what they're going to do to us with the fast lane.
Mm-hmm.
Is like little by little, it's going to be like, oh yeah, it's going to take forever to download that file, but if you want to go premium.
See, I feel like that's what we're going to see. It's not even going to be like a service like, oh, pay $25 more a month and you get the fast lane. It's going to be microtransactions because the apps have proved to us microtransactions are where it's at. It's going to be, hey, to download this file normally on your normal package, it's going to take 27 minutes. But for $6.95 right now, you can download it at lightning speeds, 37 seconds. So that's what it's going to be. Is they're going to parse out every single download, every single item, every image, every song, every episode, every show. It's going to be microtransactions out the ass. And that just doesn't need to happen to the internet.
So you're saying Candy Crush is what's going to bring down civilization?
Yeah. The end of the greatest invention in human history will be destroyed by the mechanisms of Candy Crush.
Oh, that's heavy.
It's heavy. He ain't heavy. He's my brother. You always got to have a good Neil Diamond reference every once in a while.
Oh, absolutely.
So now we don't really have a lot of options because Trump's in office still, and Ajit, I think he's actually getting investigated by one of the oversight committees for some impropriety things. But who isn't at this point? Yeah, exactly. But essentially, we're stuck with waiting till probably 2020 till this is properly addressed, because during this midterm it's not an issue. No one's talking about it. Yeah. Trump's not going to do anything about it, and until a Democrat or somebody gets up and says, hey, we can take back the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and we can fix the internet, there's just nothing you can do.
Well, okay, obviously 2018 is going to be a lost cause, but 2020, which one of us is running?
I don't have time right now, so it's gonna have to be you.
Yeah, it's 2020, man. Okay, fine, I'll do it. But to bring it back to something you said,
we should start out small. We should go run for a city council somewhere.
Oh yeah. We should find one of those crazy elections where nobody's running and we can run unopposed.
You want to go become the comptroller of Denton County?
Yeah, I can be like the geez, that'd be great.
Assistant clerk.
I don't know anything about comptrolling.
Yeah. I think it has to do with finances.
It's basically head accountant.
Okay.
But to bring it back to something you said when you started this, is you said that the repeal of these regulations is being done in an undemocratic way. It's just being done by the agency. So maybe can you explain a little bit more, like where does the agency get its power ultimately?
So the way we have our system set up is we have the three branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judicial. Not really explained or described, but ultimately the courts ruled that the legislature and the executive branches could delegate certain authority down to agencies. And an executive agency such as the FCC is actually a very unique agency in that it writes regulation, it enforces regulation, and I don't think it adjudicates its own legislation violations, but it at least has both legislative and executive aspects to it. Whenever the legislature, such as Congress, creates these entities, they create a enabling statute. The enabling statute gives them instructions on what they're supposed to do, so their objective, how they're supposed to do it, the method, and I think there's another factor, I think like goal or something that they have to achieve. They then write regulations to effectuate that standard in the industry that they are operating in.
But I guess, so to simplify it, Congress gives them a little bit of that power that belongs to Congress for the rulemaking.
Yes.
And then, so ultimately, if we really wanted to change things, and if we had politicians that were worth anything, we could get Congress to change this.
Yes, Congress could update the enabling statute and essentially say net neutrality is a primary goal of the FCC. Right now, the reason why that I said it was undemocratic, and maybe I was being a little facetious, is that what happened was net neutrality was essentially just the de facto setting. Then, because of Verizon's actions, the Obama FCC put in the net neutrality rules in the actual regulation, in the Federal Reporter. Okay, so they were binding. Mm-hmm. Then with no one other than the ISP saying, hey, change this, and all the people coming out and disagreeing with it, and generally, I think, was it like 60-70% of the population was opposed to repealing these? They just did it anyways. So to me, I guess it would be contrary to public opinion. Maybe not necessarily undemocratic, but
okay.
It's just agencies are very complex and they're very interesting to me. I find them very fascinating how they operate. But I don't like the fact that an agency can just like flip and flop like that. Like I always hate how the EPA goes from basically doing fuck all about the environment to like being very strict and overburdensome. Like
depending on who's in office.
Like if we have like a hardliner liberal, then the EPA is like, strangling industry. If we have like someone like Trump, then we're got Scott Pruitt who's building like soundproof booths for his office or something. I mean, I don't know what that guy's doing, but
his own website continues to list him as a adversary of the EPA.
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, that is a problem with agencies, in my opinion, is that they become very bipolar. Yeah, I think that's what I would say. They become very bipolar along with our political process. So the more that our executive branch shifts back and forth, the more that these agencies tend to shift back and forth. They've become political, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
So...
what are we going to do, Aaron? What are we going to do?
Well, I mean, agencies and agency law is a whole different beast that we should tackle on another time. A lot of fun, though.
Hey, man, it's full of a lot of sexy lawyers.
Well, it's interesting, and I'll end on this, but some agencies have judicial, legislative, and executive powers. I mean, I thought our whole foundation was that we separated the powers of government, not reunited them.
Well, you got to intermingle them a little bit.
You got to do a little intermingling, a little
cross-pollination.
A government mixer.
Yeah, that sounds fun. Right?
Well,
no,
I don't think we're going to see any fast lanes pop up on the internet anytime soon, but I do think we're going to start to see before the Trump administration's D-Day, if you will, some things start to happen. So we need to keep our eyes out, and this will be a great old news that we can come back to. What has happened? What does Ajit's internet freedom look like today?
I look forward to shaming any violators of this norm.
What do you mean? Explain that.
Like somebody's going to have to be the first to, offer you to a microtransaction for the fast lane. And we as the market should shame them.
Yeah, no, we should. Verizon's going to make Frontier do it. They're going to use one of those shitty little companies that they've created to make their name not synonymous with terrible service. Like, they're going to use one of those little puppet companies to do this. And they will.
Oh, yeah. It is, isn't it? So it's going to be like Metro PCS?
It's going to be a Metro PCS that does it first. It's going to be someone that no one gives a shit about. And then Verizon will be, look, that puppet over there is doing it, so that means we can do it now. And no one will care anymore.
Well, I will care.
We should care.
We should care.
All right.
That should be the tagline to this podcast.
We should care.
Arbitrary and Capricious for people who give a fuck.
All right. Well, do we have any viewer questions this week?
Let's check the mailbag. Viewers out there, you can ask us any of your arbitrary and capricious questions on any topic you feel like. Serious, not serious. Star Wars related or not. Let's see. We got one.
Also fans of Game of Thrones, so we're willing to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. For example, why did she name a dragon Drogon?
I don't know. Is there a reason?
No, I just think that's lazy. Like, come on.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin. Come on.
Yeah. All right, we got one question this week. This one comes from Charlie in Manchester. Charlie asks, hey guys, pineapple on pizza, for or against?
I am absolutely 100% for. I love pineapple in all forms. I adore it on pizza. I adore it in anything. I love pineapple. Pineapple curry, favorite curry.
So like your your typical pineapple pizza with the Canadian bacon, or as it's otherwise known, ham. Ham and pineapple, pro con, yes, no?
Well, I keep kosher, so I don't eat any pork products.
Uh,
But I do pineapple and mushroom, pineapple and olive.
mm.
Which it's funny, I didn't realize that the pineapple and olive actually was in reference in Deadpool, sweet and salty.
Hmm.
But I just love pineapple on anything. What about you? Are you an anti? I've seen this. This is like a meme now. The people who are like, pineapple on pizza, that just doesn't go. You guys are wrong.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that you were going to be one of those vehemently against people, but no, I'm with you. I love pineapple in all forms, especially just fresh pineapple.
Yeah,
Like
same here.
There's not much better than just cutting up that pineapple and eating it. And you know how if you eat too much of it, like your tongue starts to like literally burn.
Yeah, because it's eating away at your flesh.
Oh yeah. That's happened to me way too many times because I can't stop eating it.
Yeah, I went to the Big Texas Beer Fest a few weekends ago, and one of the things that was great is like there were a bunch of different cider companies, and every single one of them had a pineapple cider this year, and they were pineapple-y amazing. I enjoyed every single one of them. There also was a pear one.
Yeah.
So, no, that was at Scarborough Fair. Sorry, different cider.
No, yeah, those pear cider is actually pretty, popular historical. It's actually technically referred to as Perry.
Oh,
but,
no one knows that.
Yeah, nobody knows that.
So let me ask you this. I've had Soju.
Yeah,
with you.
Yeah,
at the family karaoke. Shout out to the best Asian karaoke place in Dallas.
Future sponsor.
And we went, and wasn't there a pear soju?
Yeah, I'm sure there was. Like that soju is just flavored. So
okay.
For any of you, those of you out there who have never had the pleasure, soju is a Korean liquor that's about half strength of like normal liquor. So it's about like 15 to 20% alcohol. And it goes very well with karaoke. And usually what you get is you get a bottle of it where they mix it with some sort of like fruit flavored sweetener. So that's where the pear came in.
Okay. Well, that's what it reminded me of whenever I had the pear cider.
Interesting.
It was like, it's kind of familiar with the soju.
Yeah, man. That soju's dangerous.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny that this has become an issue or a pop culture question that pineapple and pizza is abnormal. Because I remember back whenever I was a kid, I used to watch the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles all the time. And pineapple pizza was constantly being referred to on that. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't seem that weird to me. It doesn't seem abnormal.
I didn't think it was something to be ashamed of until recently when like BuzzFeed told me it was. And I was like, wait a second. Have you ever been to CC's before?
Yeah. It's normal. That's just something that people do. So I find this to be just BuzzFeed not having anything to talk about. And so they had to invent an issue and a meme to go along with it.
Now, I will admit that anytime I'm with a group of people and we're deciding on pizza and someone suggests a pizza that does not have red sauce, I want to scream.
Really? You're not a fan of white sauce pizzas?
No, man. Red sauce all the way.
I thoroughly enjoy a spinach, like white sauce, chicken, like with feta cheese pizza. Like it's great.
I can understand that. And like, if we're going to go get like personal pan pizzas and you want to get one for yourself, knock yourself out. But if you're ordering for a group, no, get regular fucking pizza.
Well, I mean, my default's always to get cheese because it's the least offensive of any pizza.
I'll accept cheese, but what sauce comes with cheese pizza?
Red sauce.
Red sauce, the right sauce.
Unless you get an Alfredo pizza.
Well, I don't recognize that as pizza.
Well, you know that CC's recognizes it pizza because they got the spinach Alfredo pizza. It's like one of their standbys.
Yeah, they've also got that barbecue pizza, which is also delicious, but under this definition, not pizza.
Not pizza? Well, what about the pizza, the apple like pie pizza that they make? Is that not pizza?
Oh, that's definitely not pizza. You're talking about the dessert?
Yeah.
No, that's not pizza.
Are you saying that just because it's a dessert, it's not a pizza?
It's in the shape of pizza. Is the sign out front of pizza because it looks like a pizza?
Sign's not edible.
Well, neither are their dessert.
I walked myself into that one. But
I mean, their brownies are never fully cooked. I'm really not complaining.
Why would you eat anything other than the cinnamon roll? Like the doughy cinnamon rolls that you can eat at least 6 or 7 of them before you've realized that you've eaten 6 or 7 of them.
Well, to admit something to you, I'm a bit of a chocoholic.
Oh.
So whenever I'm considering a dessert menu,
chocolate's your priority.
First world problems. My eyes go immediately to the chocolate, to the exclusion of all else.
I like chocolate. I prefer chocolate as a dressing, if you will, on desserts.
Sure enough.
Like I like a hint of chocolate on top or something like that, or maybe some like chocolate chips or something in it. But I don't know, man.
So you don't want to go full chocolate; you just want a little bit of chocolate.
I want a taste, but I want some other type of sweetness to linger. Chocolate it's overwhelming at times.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I hope that was a good enough answer about your pizza question.
I know. Hopefully, Charlie from Manchester. I honestly thought he was going to ask a question about dragons after that.
Wait, what?
Did you see the? Oh gosh, you said this thing about dragons with Game of Thrones, and then you said Charlie, and I instantly thought of Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Whenever he was on Family Feud, and they asked him, "What's an animal that we don't that eats us, but we don't eat it?" Ah, easy, dragons.
Dragons.
Yeah, when you said Charlie from Manchester, I was like instantly thinking of that for some reason.
Well, he's from Philadelphia.
I know he's from Philadelphia, but the dragon comment was too close in proximity.
Oh.
So, well, very good. Again, we apologize for the technical difficulty. This is one of those rare events where we will have a 2-part episode. So, thank you for listening, and we hope that you enjoyed part 2 of our podcast, episode 9. Jay, do you have any final comments for the viewers at home?
Nope. That's all I got for this week. This is Jay Reed for Arbitrary and Capricious.
Aaron Robinson signing off.